the completion of Bob Simpson's tenure with us and anticipate the beginning of a new tenure with Joe's arrival with us in July. So, all of that is prelude, and how's that for prelude? To some time together this morning with a truly special guest. And I've got something that I want to read to get us going to introduce our special guest this morning, Abdullah Antepli. Abdullah serves as the president of the Rothko Chapel, newly inaugurated only just a couple months ago, in January, that we were together. Rothko Chapel, an institution that, much like ourselves, our own cathedral, stands as a sanctuary for both the spirit and the struggle of humanity and what it means to live as fully human and fully spiritual creatures in our own time. Abdullah is a globally recognized figure in faith-based diplomacy and has dedicated his life to fostering deep, often difficult conversations amongst diverse communities. Before arriving at Rothko, Abdullah was a trailblazing force at Duke University. I know there's some Tar Heels in here too, so careful, including my own beloved spouse. Abdullah served as the university's first Muslim chaplain and later as an associate professor of the practice of interfaith relations. His work is rooted in the belief that our differences, when engaged with honesty and empathy, can be the foundation for a more just society. Among his many honors and accolades, Abdullah is the only Muslim chaplain to have delivered prayer at the House of Representatives, first in 2010 and again in 2017. He has been named to the Nonprofit Times top 50 list as a leading innovator for his work to create global networks. And in 2022, he was honored by the Anti-Defamation League with the Daniel Pearl Award for his work to build bridges of understanding amongst Jews and Muslims and for promoting peace and religious tolerance. He was inducted and elected into the American Academy of Arts and Sciences, which is no small feat, in 2023. In a world that often feels fractured, Abdullah offers a vision of radical hospitality and shared humanity. We are incredibly fortunate to have him with us on this not at all low Sunday today. And I'm honored to be in conversation and to call him a friend. So welcome to the cathedral, Abdullah.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Just to reciprocate that welcome, I've been in town and on the job for 6 months, and this is my 4th visit to Christ Church Cathedral, which brings my attendance to this church, I think, better than 50% of its members. So I want to make sure that is noted, that Muslim guy comes to church more often than its members. It's been a remarkable welcome by Houston in general, Rothko Chapel community in particular, and Shelley and Ned, your own personal friendship and your welcome has been remarkable. Glad to be here, and I'm really hoping this is just going to be just the beginning of a wonderful friendship and conversation with each and every one of you.
Well, this is one thing I want us to just begin with is to tell us a little bit, how does the one go from becoming the first Muslim chaplain at Duke University to arriving and being the president of the Rothko Chapel?
How does anyone do anything, really?
Yeah.
All of us are Forrest Gumps of some kind. And life is like a box of chocolate. You never know what comes out of it. And my journey is no different. It's quite remarkable to be at Duke, to be part of American Academy of Arts and Sciences, and to be the president of Rothko Chapel, this iconic historical institution, for the last 55 years, inviting people to activate spiritual and moral imagination through education and art, and inviting them to work collaboratively together in improving humanity. My journey started in the southeastern part of Turkey. I grew up in a slum. My parents have no formal education. My mom is still, she signs the official documents with a fingerprint. It's a quite remarkable thing. I would come to Duke's campus every morning, this Gothic wonderland, and pinch myself if this is actually real. And similarly, I walk into the chapel, it's a magical place. It's with this belief that God has given me so much, life has given me so much, which drives me unendlessly that I have to give it back. That's my journey. I was at Duke University, never heard of Rothko Chapel, and knew nothing about really what it was all about, and had no plans to come to Houston, Texas. Another mandate of me, another cosmic debt I feel, I have a moral and ethical responsibility to improve Houston's image around the world. So it is one of the most underrated, underappreciated, and misunderstood city. And as a Muslim, I know something about being misunderstood. I know something about not the best of my people creates the headlines. So hopefully we are going to improve many things, including Houston's reputation. Not a single soul, when I announced my departure from North Carolina to here, not a single soul said, "You're going to Houston? Really? Amazing. We are envious." Like everybody said, "Ew, are you sure? Are you out of your mind?" Like they have no idea how beautiful this city is, how diverse it is, and how remarkably poised itself to be giving, exemplifying, modeling, and displaying what America will look like in 20, 30 years. And how wonderful, how exciting. That was my, if I can choose one reason why I came, it was very clear that the cultural, educational, even spiritual landscape here has the chance. It may not go in that direction, but it has the potential and promise to model and exemplify what a multicultural, multi-religious, harmonious, peaceful, constructive American fabric, social fabric, American society would look like. That's why I came here. That's why I'm here.
And aren't we lucky to have you here? So I'm going to try and do what I think you do really well and honor that, which is to kind of get at the meat of some of that. So all of that sounds really nice. And I think this is, my guess is that this is one of the reasons why the good people at Rothko Chapel brought you here, is you come with a track record of actually getting into the grist of difference that makes all those things that sound really lovely to have in community of multicultural, diverse, dynamic community of whatever size, whether it be a public university campus or a college town, let alone a global metropolis, that's what we are here. But to make that happen, you can't just wave the magic wand and that happens. So what have you learned, and what do you bring here to this work that says, how do we get into the meat of what it is to build multicultural, diverse, interfaith, interreligious community?
Thank you. I mean, how lucky we are to have these spiritual leaders who cuts the whole thing and get to the heart of the matter right away. There are few things I'm certain about life. There are certain, I am absolutely 100% sure. I believe in God, that's very certain to me. What you call God, how you experience God, that's a whole another story. But I believe our diversity, our differences are from creation. But I also believe, I am a constant skeptic and doubtful, that diverse communities, they don't automatically produce pluralistic, harmonious, peaceful communities. Just because you bring people of different backgrounds, they live together, they do business together, they interact over time. When it is tested, if that diversity has not been encouraged, facilitated through education, spiritual and moral teachings to get to know one another, deepen their understanding, without flattening their differences, without erasing those differences, build a relationship that is healthy enough to engage and turn those differences into a source of learning and inspiration, it often ends with violence. Ask Turks and Armenians. We lived together for 1,000 years. And look how it ended. Look at Germans, what they did during and before Second World War. Rwanda, other places, or our own history here in the United States. Difference shouldn't be celebrated superficially. Difference, because it could be a curse. It is not only a blessing. It's not about just having the best food of different variety. Because if human nature, if it is not tamed, spiritually nurtured, their innate fear of anxiety, of difference, of unknown, could easily turn into violence, and it could turn into incredibly ugly. So before we arrive to those dark moments, if we learn anything from this history, how do you develop, at least here in Houston, take this diversity and stop talking about it in somewhat naive and superstitious and shallow and reductionist way? How do you build, if Houston is that diverse, then do you have that diversity within your immediate circles, within your community? Is there a diversity in the way that you engage with Houston, your friendship circle, your charity, your things along those lines? And if it doesn't happen, what institutions, what programs, what educational outlets and lanes that could give that diversity some meaning and some depth as much as possible? How not to do is one thing. Our invitation to pluralism, engagement, and dialogue should not be done, unfortunately, it's more often than not, it's been done in the way that you invite to focus on just common things. Focus on what we share, which is wonderful. That's where you may start. But if the conversation ends in where what you share, what's common between you, it often, at best, doesn't work. At worst, it again empowers the demons, individual and collective, within ourselves. It has to, from the very beginning, the intention and deliberate intention to build that relationship or engagement with across difference, either religiously, culturally, and especially these days, ideologically, partisan-wise. It has to invite, bring your differences, bring your moral convictions, bring your disagreements. Let's create a space, whatever works, in engaging those differences without flattening them, without erasing them. That's what I hope to do at Rothko Chapel, with your partnership.
Absolutely, and what I hope this morning accomplishes in many ways for our own community, I will say, is, as Dean, is this provides us, I know Rothko, most of our community are no strangers to this great institution, but with Abdullah's presence and his vision for what's happening here, we have a new invitation about how we are and can and will engage with Rothko as a neighbor and a partner.
Exactly, and this is not an institutional propaganda. Please don't take it that way. Chapel has been around 55 years. This house of God has been around 150 years. Institutions survive. It's not really partisanship for the institution. But look at this place. It was built by deeply devout French Catholic husband and wife. They commissioned a Jewish-American Latvian artist, and now it's led by Turkish Muslim imam.
Yeah.
And this institution, from the very beginning, built to be not an art gallery. It wasn't an art museum. There's nothing wrong with being art gallery or art museum. It was built to activate the magical power of art by these very different people. On the surface, we are different, but in so many ways, I feel I knew the Dominics, Dominic and John, so well. In the Jewish tradition, there's a beautiful teaching. I don't know if you've come across. All Jews, I'm not sure if everybody believes it literally, but every Jew met in Sinai at some point. And when you meet, you have this affinity, this closeness to that person. I believe I met Dominic and John DeMinil, or Mark Rothko. We are all orphans, we are all refugees, we are all immigrants, and we came away from these demons. We have seen what not engaging with difference brings. For the DeMinils, they fled the Nazi invasion of France, and they turned their face and looked at what happened during the Second World War. They understood the church's inability to prevent this devastation at best, or in certain cases, church's complicity in being part of the problem. For Mark Rothko, it was the anti-Semitism of the Russian Empire. And for me, I have my own demons that I have been running away from, and saying, if we don't pay attention to rising voices of exclusion, unwelcome, different forms of racism, if early on we don't develop a strong immune system as a society, we are no different as Americans, as Houstonians, than what happened in Europe. I don't want to be alarmist. I don't want you to get into moral action just because I am preaching fear here. That's not the case. But this happens over and over again, and we are no exception. It could happen too. As our social fabric still is intact, as our civil liberties are giving us an opportunity to model and exemplify how you engage difference civically, spiritually, religiously, a lot more constructively, if you are not really shocked, that means we are really not paying attention. Let's do whatever we can in Houston. We have a lot more privileges. Therefore, we are a lot more responsible to call for moral action as quickly as possible.
You noted it might have been my last question, one of my last questions, my first question really, about cutting to the chase, is I want to name that I think this is something that has been a development within what interfaith relations have been. That for the generation on whose shoulders we stand in the interfaith movement, it was a remarkable thing just to prove that we could talk to one another and that we did have similarities. And it took decades to really establish that as a norm that now, to some extent, I would like to think, and I know that this is not 100% the case always and everywhere, but because faithful people have been at work since at least, I would say, the mid to late 60s in that regard, that we can assume that to some extent, and in our work to try and pick up that mantle and carry it forward to figure out what's next is to say, let's get into the meat. We've spent decades establishing the premise that we can be similar. But then where all of the grist of it is getting into the nitty-gritty of the particulars where we differ.
Exactly. Maybe then let's talk what's getting in the way. What are the main obstacles? Why reservoirs of goodwill? Overwhelming majority of the Jews, Christians, Muslims, Hindus, and Buddhists, they are good people. Yeah. What is getting in the way that those kind of meaningful engagements are not happening? What are your sense?
I mean, as much as we have, as I would say, as leaders, so much of what I just said, I think definitely applies to religious leaders. I'm not sure how good of a job we have done in translating the assumptions that we feel like we can often make into our communities. And so if we can translate that into the sense that our communities feel like, yes, of course we have these similarities, then that can radiate another level further into society where if all of us as a congregation can leave on Sunday morning feeling confident that, yes, we share things in common about our faith that we feel some degree of confidence about with regard to Muslims or Jews or Buddhists or Hindus or Jains or Sikhs or any number of other traditions that we could name among us, that going out, and this is a theme that I want us to continue to think about as a community together, is if we can take that confidence out into the world and let that confidence seep into the other relationships that we have in communities that we share in our neighborhoods, in our schools, in our workplaces, in our organizations, then that allows people's shoulders to start to ease a little bit, and so that you can entertain some other more difficult ideas. And then to some extent, I think we worry a little bit, or I will name for myself, can worry a little bit too much about what we may call religious tourism in visiting one another's traditions, but to actually observe them. I think one of the dangers, I spent many years living in Los Angeles, and Houston and LA have some degree of similarities in being cities that are not terribly centralized, and you can very easily, we can all get in our cars and we might as well be teleporting ourselves from one part of Houston to another, right? And everything that in between, we don't really engage with, interact with all that much. But to say that we do have neighbors who we can get to know and observe and engage with the traditions that they have and how they live out their faith ritually, if not morally. So that's
wonderful.
Some of my reflections.
No, I totally agree. Maybe related to this, I cannot call you anything but Nat. You are my friend, so I'm sorry.
Please,
Reverend
I answer to many
leader.
things, but that is the first thing I answer to.
I also wonder, the reason why this is not happening is also, let me list a few things that from my perspective. The carrots and the sticks are not very well defined. And we talk about the sticks already. Violence is inevitable outcome of intolerance. Hate, if it is unchallenged, unmitigated, it corrupts initially the people who are holding that hate, and then it translates itself as violence. But there are so much carrots, especially for America. I don't want to sound, my children always say, oh, you are more royal than the king. Look at this Turkish guy. I came to this country because I read every Federalist Papers, and I was blown away. If you grew up in the Middle East, if you grew up in a militarist dictatorship where state controls everything, in a French secularism, in a laïcité way, and if you live in Myanmar and other parts of the world where the secularism and the church and the state, separation of church and the state is designed to protect government from religion, right. And then you read a society from the very beginning, they learn from their experience in Europe, they design a separation of church and state to protect religion from the government, not the other way around. Right. And even though our founding fathers were not particularly religious people, at best they were agnostic, but they really had a profound understanding of the role of religion. First of all, they understood that religion is not going anywhere. All the predictions of the early Enlightenment, post-Renaissance, that somehow modern mind was going to reject religion. Remember that statement, God is dead, Nietzsche? I have a shirt saying, God is dead, Nietzsche. Nietzsche is dead, God. Right. So religion is not going anywhere. Religion is back. Religion is part of the human experience. I think we have a unique responsibility, again, in the United States, where we have designed this American form of church and state, where religion could still play a remarkably good role in promoting and strengthening democracy, inclusivity, and multi-layered sort of society as much as possible, which we are not showing our members that you have a role to play in combating challenges that our democracy faces or strengthening our democracy faces. Maybe secondly, also another carrot is there's a profound way of getting to know self by studying other. Mm-hmm. There's a profound way of improving your own self-awareness, getting to know who you are, as you try to understand somebody who is religiously, culturally, ethnically, sexual orientation-wise different than you. For the last 17 years, I was a professor of Islam, teaching Islamic theology to Duke Divinity School students. It's a major Protestant seminary. Everybody shows up to become a Protestant clergy. So you would think all they should study, if they are going to hold religious leadership, if they are going to lead disciples of Christ in church, they should only study Christianity, Christian theology. I was the first to teach Islam, and I had a rabbi colleague teaching Judaism. And when we interviewed these alumni, what gave you a much deeper sense of formation in Christian faith, that love of Christ and discipleship and service and leadership, they often related to the courses that they have taken on Judaism and Islam. Not that you shouldn't study your own, but there is a remarkably missed opportunity if you want to understand who you are in this modern, highly globalized world, that meaningful educational journey into the land of others, making journeys, if you're a Christian, making journeys into the world of Islam, Judaism, Hinduism, and Buddhism, if it is done well, that cross-border, it becomes a mirror at some point. It shows you who you are. It shows you your moral strengths, your cardinal sins, where you are lacking. It puts a mirror before you that otherwise just studying yourself doesn't provide. I think one of the many failures of religious leadership across the board is not showing these profound spiritual educational opportunities, that learning about others is just not tolerating them, merely just preventing violence. But there's a way in which it could enhance and make you deeply rooted in your own faith tradition.
Yeah. I've certainly found that to be the case.
Yeah. Maybe we should share, like, both of us have spent significant amount of time studying other faith traditions, and therefore we are much more deeply rooted in our faith tradition. The Christopher Stendhal call it holy envy.
Yeah.
If you haven't experienced holy envy, I think it's a really missed opportunity.
Yeah.
It's really a missed opportunity. If you haven't really meaningfully tried to understand somebody so significantly different than you, and you saw something so beautifully, very particularistically articulated in such a beautiful way that your faith tradition may or may not have it, but you feel almost jealous. I'll list two, one from Judaism and one from Christianity. I don't want to say sucker, but I am obsessed with Shabbat. Yeah. I have never seen anything like this. Yeah. I know we have it in Islam, Christianity has its own, but when the world's most influential, most effective religion, capitalism, and I'm not an anti-capitalist, every day telling you, get more, have more, buy more, achieve more, acquire more, and there's nothing wrong with these things if you do it ethically and morally. But here is a faith tradition for the last 5,000 years says, for once a week, stop. Stop all these external journeys and start this internal journey. It is quite remarkable. My Jewish colleagues hear my approach to Shabbat. They say, I wish more Jews would appreciate Shabbat the way you are appreciating. I highly recommend it, and that's why I'm so attracted to Rothko Chapel, because it provides that mini Shabbat. Mm-hmm. It invites you to that slowing down. If you can't do it for 25 hours, just do it for 2 hours, 3 hours. Just stop this clutter, noise, center yourself around. It's quite remarkable. And in the Christianity, every religion in their own unique language. I have never seen anything so beautifully and profoundly in a large scale manifested in Christianity than any other places. Loving God necessitates loving humanity. You have to take love, you have to take that concept of loving or being obedient to God in service of humanity. I think I spent 8 years working in various relief and humanitarian projects in Southeast Asia, and my closest friends were these Christian charities. I have never seen that kind of selfless, devout people with the love of God serving to the poorest, the most devastated people. Islam has it, Judaism has it. There's a concept of charity everywhere. But that sense of lifelong devotion, and that's why we have all these remarkable Christian hospitals, charities, soup kitchens, etc. The scale is almost uncomparable.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have any
holy envies. I do actually. The first for mine with Judaism is its relationship with grief, and the mourner's Kaddish, I think, is one of the most profound spiritual liturgical practices that I've seen, and especially being spent enough time in ordained life as I have to walk beside people traveling the road of grief, that we can fall so easily into the trap in our ritualistic lives, in our sacramental lives, in our liturgical lives, that we make our way and walk with people through a funeral, and that's we might come back at All Saints with a necrology and reading someone's name, but there is really no other identification of the reality of grief as a road that's walked over a long period of time, and the way that the mourner's Kaddish honors that on a weekly basis through the first year, and then on annual anniversaries for some time, is a really beautiful, powerful, profound, important practice for building a community's bonds of understanding how it is, setting, honestly, norms and understanding of what grief actually is, and how we make our way through that, and that is a journey that's not traveled alone.
for a whole year?
For a whole year on a weekly basis, and then on anniversaries beyond that. And then that's why since I've come here, I've become enamored with the only place I've seen that really within the Christian tradition is adapted through Latin American practice, through Dia de los Muertos and the altar that we have to offer those who feel moved at that point on each and every year to remember those who have gone before. And within Abrahamic faith traditions, I'm in awe of what Ramadan demands of Muslims on a daily basis.
Tell me about it. You go through the whole month, and then you meet these lovely Christians who give up chocolate, and they call it fasting.
Yes. A mentor. It's a mentor.
I give up Diet Coke and I'm fasting. Okay, all right. I'm not judging.
All right. As a mentor of mine put it, giving up chocolate and cheap white wine does not make for. No, it's right. And to be present, we were communicating about, we weren't able to do this year, but if you ever have the opportunity, and I seek this out individually and hope that we will find this opportunities communally, to break fast with Muslims within the holy month of Ramadan, that is an absolutely beautiful thing to be a part of, and for an opportunity for us to be in solidarity with people who are taking that on as a spiritual practice.
One of my greatest, thank you, those are beautiful. And if you haven't been to an iftar event or Ramadan event, if you didn't walk into a Muslim home and experience that sundown where these thirsty and hungry Muslims turning into lit Christmas trees as they start eating and drinking, it's such a profoundly spiritual moment. Now you have a brother and a home. Hopefully you will experience and we have about 500,000 Muslims in the immediate Houston area. You should have no problem. If you are living in anywhere, you shouldn't have a problem because Muslims are everywhere. They come in every color and shape. But especially in Houston, finding a Muslim friend, Jewish friend, or Hindu friend, Buddhist friend, it shouldn't be a problem. One of my greatest puzzlement coming back to America immediately after 9/11, of course, being the Muslim, the interfaith scholar, teaching in a very elite and prestigious university, you are constantly become the representative of your faith tradition. In a non-judgmental way, I often was puzzled, like why so many educated people of faith misunderstand my religion, my faith. How otherwise very open-minded, they are not judgmental, they are not hateful, you just misunderstand my faith. And it sort of dawned on me, I wondered whether their misunderstanding of my religion is because they misunderstand their own religion. They misunderstand their own faith. If you experience religion and faith exclusively as a Sunday morning thing, and for the next and it's okay if that's worked for you. This is not a judgment. If you experience religion just within the four walls of your house of worship, in a mosque, in a temple, in a synagogue, and that's all you want to do, that's a once a week thing, that it's fine. I'm, again, not judging any, I don't want to come across as a judgmental person, but this faith tradition for thousands of years, through their accumulated wisdom, they have the potential to inform the remaining 6.5 days of your week. In your food, in your dress code, in your culture. You don't have to observe in the most restrictive, rigid ways. Just forget about those do's and do-nots, but look at the deep sort of invitation beneath those do's and do-nots, laws and do-nots. I mean, answering your couple of earlier questions, in a country where religion could play a significantly constructive role, if some people are distorting it, if they are taking it to extreme, that's their problem. But the faith that we experience here in this great city, it has the potential, it has the promise to influence the rest of the society without violating the sanctity of the separation of church and state in a meaningful way. I don't think the organized religion has activated that role as creatively as they should. I'll give you one profound example. It's not all dark. I have my biggest hope, my biggest excitement is the nuns. People in rows leaving organized religion.
Just not N-U-N's nuns, N-O-N-E nuns.
Yes.
I'm stealing your thunder there, but yeah.
Exactly. And there's nothing wrong with N-U-N's.
I mean, there's good nuns, N-U-N's are great too. Just to say.
So a remarkable number of under 45 Americans are just checking out. The last time they have been to a church or synagogue or a mosque is the end of their bar mitzvah, bat mitzvah, confirmation class. Goodbye. And any religion that is not compelling, engaging, exciting, they should die. It's not about religion. It's not about church. It's not about space. It's about building soul crafts, building ethical, moral societies, giving people what is right and wrong in a direction. And if any religion doesn't give it in a meaningful sense, I have no interest. That market force should sort of eliminate those people who are not producing the products. But almost none, or very few, less than 1% of these people who are leaving organized religion, they become militant atheists. Very few of them become, in the most Richard Dawkins sense, anti-religious, hostile to religion. Overwhelming majority of them, nuns, N-O-N-Es, non-affiliated folks, they are still knocking the doors of the organized religion. Do you have anything compelling, engaging, inspiring to tell me? Do you have anything to say about those incredible modern problems that we are facing in today's world? Do you have anything to inspire me to fill this gap that I feel in my heart all the time? I get Duke education, Harvard education, but I feel very little satisfaction out of it. There is no meaning, purpose. I'm just getting a good job, a good paying job. Is this all about it? So it's a great market force to organize religion, to tap into, and we have to reinvent ourselves. That religion has something compelling, something inspiring, something nurturous to provide to these people, so that we have to do business slightly in a different way.
So we are. You can see that how easy it is to make friends with Abdullah, and we would very easily, left to our own devices, we'd have you sitting here for the next 3 hours at least. If we kept this going, we'd really enjoy that. And suffice to say, this will not be your only visit to the Dean's Hour at Christ Church Cathedral. So I want to make sure if there are questions, because we're running down, that we'll have a little bit of room for that. So before I open that, I'm going to ask one thing myself and then leave a little bit of time. So one of the things that I have come to love and appreciate about this cathedral is the fact that we are, one of our core values, things that has always been a part of who we are, is that we lift up beauty as a love language between God and ourselves and one another. Rothko Chapel has that very much at the core of its very being, and that's one of the things that I think forms a definitive bond between our two institutions. How are you thinking at this moment about what it means for Rothko to carry forward beauty as a component of something that brings about justice and vibrant moral life?
In Islam, famously, God has 99 known most famous names. That's the core of Muslim spirituality. Out of 99, almost 64 of them are synonyms to beauty. Beauty in justice, beauty in compassion, beauty in forgiveness. It's quite remarkable. In the typical Semitic Arabic word, you can take any of the 64 names of God. They could be used as for beauty as well. And Rothko being Rothko, with no representative art, it warms my Muslim heart beyond. It's not that anything is wrong with the representative art, but it's a really remarkable way. That's the magic of the Rothko Chapel, is to invite beauty through simple but not simplistic, profound way as much as possible. Can you create beauty? Can you respond to brokenness of the world by creating acts and spaces of beauty through art, through space itself, but also through programming? I really hope you see the beauty of a pastor and an imam sitting together on a Sunday morning. And we should find a rabbi and walk into a bar. Really, that's when things get really beautiful. So, and then I can be the designated driver.
That's right.
So we should also create beauty of music, beauty of imagery as much as possible. That is our public programming that we will be organizing in the true spirit of the Rothko Chapel's original aspirations. The Menils invited Mandela, the Menils invited Desmond Tutu, Dalai Lama, President Jimmy Carter. On Wednesday, I'm going to Atlanta to reactivate our partnership with the Carter Center. So one thing also I hope, we will not just keep talking about glorious past, institutionally or individually. Everybody talks about these three amigos. Amazing. Like really 3 pastor, rabbi, and a reverend. They did remarkable work in 1960s and 70s. And when I ask, okay, who are the current amigos and amigas? Right. Who are the people continuing the legacy, either as an individual or an organization? There are no clear answers. Yeah. I really hope both Christ Church Cathedral and Rothko Chapel could be part of the creation of beauty with some meaningful, not just superficial beauty, right, but relationship, communal beauty that will inspire people to moral action.
I share that with you. Let's do it. All right, so we have time for maybe just 1 or 2 questions. I see. Let's get
and for those who ask questions, if they could just mention their names. Ambassador.
Yes, good morning. Pardon my voice. I'm Chase Untermeyer. And to listen to current political rhetoric, there is a great danger stalking Texas, and that danger is Sharia. And almost certainly in the next session of the Texas legislature, there will be legislation of some kind directed against Sharia. Could you, it's a very big subject, but
sure,
could you speak to that subject, please?
Absolutely, absolutely. There is a easy and short and somewhat superficial answer that there is no factual evidence of such theocracy threat coming from Islam and Muslims. There are factual threats of some other forms of theocracy, but it's not coming from. There is factually not enough number of Muslims believe in the frozen, rigid rules of the 1400 years ago, trying to impose it on other people. There's absolutely no evidence to it. And Sharia, it literally means the Hebrew word halakha. If you are more familiar with the word halakha, Jewish law, Jewish sort of self-imagination, it is not like, I tell to these people, I met many of them here in Texas or in North Carolina, they are genuinely concerned about Sharia. And I said, have you ever seen a Sharia book? Have you ever seen a blueprint between the two covers that people are talking about, that they will run Houston, they will run North Carolina with it? Have you ever seen an actual document? If you think somebody will impose this religious law, of course nobody can produce it because there is no such thing. It is oceans of literature, engagement, conversation, what is right, what is wrong on any given situation, defining and shaping people's individual, for the most part, spirituality between them and God. This is somewhat a quick answer, saying there is no such thing. But why then many Americans, this is consuming our taxpayers' attention, money, colossal waste of our elected officials' conversations and time. We have much more persistent issues, more important issues to deal with. The underlying issue is, if you take the word Sharia on any given anti-Sharia legislation, if you put Jews, it's almost identical to anti-Semitic literature of 1930s and 40s. As if you are reading David Fort's International Jew. It's almost identical. Take it 50 years earlier, if you take the word Muslims or Sharia and put papism, Catholicism, it's the same identical thing. I hope we will be smart enough, morally alert enough to say, we have seen this before. How a very small minority, easy to target because of the geopolitical reasons, always before elections, as an easy target because these communities are unknown. It's a post-9/11 United States. You see death and devastation and war and destruction coming from the Muslim majority countries and societies. It's easy to scare Americans before an election with this fear of the other, either with communists before, Jews before, Catholics before. A same thing is happening. Maybe I will end this with a somewhat humorous Turkish redneck joke. A Turkish redneck, with all due respect, sees a huge slippery banana peel on his walkway. You know what he says? Shoot, I'm going to fall again. Because he has done this many times. So I really hope this will appear to alert Americans as a banana peel. Like if you step on this, you will fall again. That we will be alert enough. Let's also, as we discuss these topics, let's not dehumanize people who are fearful of Sharia. Let's not use a condescending language. If I didn't know anything about Islam and Muslims growing up in different parts of the United States, and all I hear about Islam and Muslims is jihad, terrorism, Hezbollah, Hamas, all these evil terrorist organizations, it is only natural that I would develop those feelings. It is only natural that I would be fearful of Muslims. It was only natural. I mean, I was in the worship service earlier at 9 a.m., and I'll be in the worship service at 11 a.m. Every single beautiful prayer, it could be easily translated into Arabic. But if you say it loud in an American airport in Arabic, you will get additional attention from TSA agents. So let's just have some compassion to people who don't know any better. They need education, they need involvement. For those who would like to see Islam, understand Islam, what Sharia is, go to the Ismaili Center. Mm-hmm. That's a Sharia in its architectural beauty, in its beautiful architectural speaking concretely what the soul of Islam is, what the heart of Islam is, which in so many ways no different than the soul of Christianity or Judaism, and etc. And also these conversations of hate, anti-Muslim xenophobia, it's not going to go away just because this party, this leader comes to it. It's a reflection of the much deeper pathological problem of hate. Because that means hate is brewing in American society. We have to go deep and address the root cause of why are we hating people that we do not know. that requires a much deeper ethical moral education.
Thank you. We have, like I said, we could be here for hours, and that would be time truly well spent. So we'll look forward to the next hour that we get to spend with you, Abdullah, in many more settings beyond this room, truthfully, from what we've shared this morning. So thank you for coming.
I really hope so. You have a brother and a home at Rothko Chapel. Come and visit us.
Please, please, please. So if you have already worshiped this morning, bless you. Go in peace to love and serve the Lord. If you have not yet worshiped, you can go and make your way into church, and we'll see you in just a few moments. Next Sunday, we're coming back to the Dean's Hour with another powerful Muslim leader from Houston, Sharik Ghani, who is the executive director of an organization called Bridges, who's going to pick up exactly where we left off this morning. So if you found this nourishing, come back next Sunday, and we're going to keep it going. All right. Thank you, everyone.